You tampered with my food. Why? Sir, it's a mistake.
In the dim glow of a candlelit dining room, Reginald Thompson paused, his fork hovering just above the sizzling ribeye steak. The words on the crumpled napkin slipped under his plate were simple, but they hit like a thunderclap. They tampered with your food. This isn't safe. Check the security cams. For a man who had clawed his way from the backstreets of Detroit to the boardrooms of Wall Street, this wasn't just a warning, it was a spark that threatened to ignite a firestorm. Little did he know, this quiet evening in Savannah would unravel a web of hidden prejudice, forcing him to confront not only his own empire, but the ugly underbelly of American hospitality. Reginald Thompson was no stranger to adversity. At 52, he stood as one of the nation's most formidable black entrepreneurs, the founder and CEO of Thompson Global Ventures. His portfolio spanned renewable energy firms, cutting-edge fintech startups, and a chain of upscale eateries across the South. Born in a modest row house in Detroit during the turbulent 1970s, Reginald had watched his father toil in auto factories, coming home with grease-stained hands and a weary spirit. His mother, a schoolteacher, instilled in him the value of education, scraping together pennies for books and after-school programs. Reginald's big break came in his 20s when he coded his first app in a dingy basement apartment, a financial tool that revolutionized small business lending. By 30, he'd taken it public, amassing a fortune that allowed him to diversify into hospitality, where he believed good food could bridge divides. But success hadn't erased the scars of being overlooked. Reginald drove a understated Ford pickup, preferred flannel shirts over tailored suits in his off hours, and lived in a cozy ranch-style home in Atlanta suburbs, far from the flash of celebrity CEOs. He knew all too well how appearances could deceive, and deceive they did. When an anonymous email arrived at his corporate inbox 3 weeks prior, alleging discriminatory practices at one of his flagship restaurants, the Magnolia Manor in Savannah, Georgia, he didn't dispatch investigators or lawyers. Instead, he donned a faded baseball cap, a worn leather jacket, and jeans, boarding a Greyhound bus to see for himself. Leadership, he always said, meant getting your hands dirty. The Magnolia Manor was a jewel of Southern elegance, nestled in a restored antebellum mansion overlooking the Savannah River. With its wrought iron balconies, crystal chandeliers, and menu boasting heirloom recipes, it attracted bankers, politicians, and tourists seeking a taste of old-world charm. The walls featured sepia-toned photos of historic landmarks, subtly nodding to Georgia's past without stirring controversy, so the owners thought. To Reginald, it whispered something more insidious, a facade of tradition masking exclusion. As he stepped through the oak doors that evening, the hostess, a prim woman in her 30s with a practiced smile, eyed his casual attire with barely concealed disdain. "Reservation?" she asked, her tone clipped, as if he might be lost. "No, ma'am," Reginald replied evenly, his Midwestern accent softened by years in the South. She sighed, flipping through her ledger. "We're quite full, but I can squeeze you in near the kitchen." "That all right?" He nodded, following her past tables of well-heeled patrons mostly white, clad in Brooks Brothers suits and pearls. Not a single black diner in sight, save for the busboys hustling in the shadows. She deposited him at a cramped corner table by the swinging doors, where clanging pots and the scent of onions assaulted his senses. No water glass appeared for 15 minutes. The sommelier bypassed him entirely. Reginald sat patiently, observing the room like a hawk. The manager, Mr. Whitaker, a portly man in his 50s with slicked back hair and a perpetual smirk, glad-handed the VIPs, his laughter booming. But his gaze slid over Reginald, as if he were invisible. This wasn't incompetence. It was intentional, a subtle art of making someone feel unwelcome without saying a word. Sophia Jenkins moved through the chaos with the grace of a dancer avoiding landmines. At 28, she was the lone black waitress on staff, her dreams of becoming a community organizer derailed by her father's sudden heart attack 2 years earlier. Bills from the hospital had forced her to drop out of Spelman College, pack her bags, and return to Savannah, where she took the first gig that paid enough to cover rent. The Magnolia Manor seemed promising at first, decent tips from tourists, but the reality was a grind. Double shifts, the worst sections, and constant nitpicking from Mr. Whitaker, who treated her like an outsider despite her flawless service. "Smile more, Sophia," he'd say, his eyes lingering too long. The other servers whispered jokes about diversity hires, and the kitchen staff's casual slurs stung like paper cuts. Tonight, though, something felt off. The man at table 9 didn't fit the mold. No flashy watch, no entitled demands, just quiet confidence as he scanned the menu. When she approached, he met her eyes with genuine respect. "Evening, miss. I'll have the signature ribeye, medium rare, and a glass of the 98 Opus 1. Sophia's breath caught. That steak was a $450 showpiece, 32 ounces of dry-aged Angus, served with a dramatic tableside carving and truffle-infused sides. The wine added another $150. She'd seen it ordered by oil tycoons and senators, never by someone in scuffed boots. Across the room, Mr. Whitaker watched, his arms crossed, telegraphing doubt. Policy dictated running a card for high-ticket items from questionable guests, but Sophia punched in the order anyway, overriding the system with her code. If it backfired, it'd be on her. Why risk it? Whitaker snarled later in the hall. "He looks like he can't afford fries." Sophia held her ground. "He seems fine, sir." In the kitchen, the real horror unfolded. Chef Harlan, a grizzled veteran with a temper, hovered over the steak on the grill. With a sneer, he hawked a glob of spit onto the meat, flipping it casually. The line cook chuckled. Teach him not to play dress up here. Sophia's stomach turned. This wasn't a fluke. She'd overheard similar pranks before, always targeted at minorities or those who didn't belong. Rage surged through her. She couldn't serve that. Grabbing a napkin, she scribbled hastily. They tampered with your food. This isn't safe. Check the security cams. Folding it tight, she carried the plate out, slipping the note under his breadbasket as she unveiled the dish. Enjoy, sir, she murmured, her pulse racing. Reginald unfolded the napkin discreetly, his face hardening. Tampered? This went beyond bad service, screamed Malice. He pushed the plate aside, untouched, and texted his security chief, issue at Magnolia. Pull all cams now. Discreet. Rising, he approached Whitaker. A word in private? In the office, Whitaker oozed false charm. Problem with the meal? I want the kitchen footage. Now. Whitaker stammered, fumbling with excuses about technical glitches. But Reginald's tone sharpened. I'm Reginald Thompson. I own this place. Show me, or you're done. The color drained from Whitaker's face. He pulled up the feed, but a suspicious gap appeared 2 minutes edited out. Reginald's mind raced. Tampering with evidence? This was bigger than one stake. Back in his hotel room at the Historic in downtown, Reginald reviewed the unedited cloud backups his team had secured. There it was. Harlan spitting, the laugh, the mutter. That's for thinking you fit in. Deeper dives revealed patterns delayed service for black couples, food dropped on the floor and reused. It wasn't isolated. It was ingrained, a culture of quiet bigotry thriving under his nose. Fury mixed with guilt. How had he missed this? He forwarded files to legal and PR. Full audit. No leaks. Sophia arrived the next morning, nerves frayed. Had the note cost her job? Summoned to the office, she found Reginald waiting. Sophia Jenkins, he said. You took a hell of a risk. I'm sorry if don't be. You exposed what I should have seen. I own Thompson Global. This ends today. Relief washed over her, but questions swirled. What now? Your choice. Walk with a severance and tuition for school, or stay and help fix it as Director of Integrity and Operations. She chose to stay, her voice steady. Let's rebuild. By afternoon, the Magnolia Manor buzzed with activity, not diners, but federal agents. Harlan, his sous chef, and Whitaker were cuffed and let out, charged with food tampering and civil rights violations. Reginald addressed the press on the steps. This wasn't a glitch, it was a failure of leadership. We're tearing it down and starting over with integrity at the core. He nodded to Sophia beside him. This woman's courage lit the path. The arrest sparked debate nationwide. Was this isolated prejudice or a symptom of deeper American divides? Commentators argued. Some called it overblown, defending kitchen banter. Others hailed it as a wake-up call against systemic racism in service industries. Social media erupted hashtags like justiceserved trending, with stories of similar experiences pouring in. Reginald faced backlash from investors fearing bad PR, but he stood firm, firing holdouts and mandating training. 2 weeks later, the manor reopened transformed. She resumed classes online, aiming for that organizer role, funded by Reginald's scholarship. Staff meetings became forums for open dialogue, turning whispers into change. Reginald reflected often on that napkin. It wasn't just about food, it was about dignity denied, power abused. He expanded audits across his empire, vowing no blind spots. Sophia, once invisible, now mentored others, her story inspiring quiet acts of defiance. In the end, the Magnolia Manor didn't just survive, it thrived, becoming a beacon of inclusivity. Reginald and Sophia's partnership proved that one voice could topple empires of silence. Justice wasn't swift, but it was thorough, leaving no room for doubt. What do you think about the injustices and acts of quiet violence like those in this story? Have you witnessed something similar in everyday life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Take a stand, express your views. Let's discuss how we can all push for real change.